Thank you for staying with us. As promised, our next interview will be talking about Spiritual Shelter Baptist Liberation Day. And we have joining us via Zoom Pastor Ingrid Rueben of Academy of Grace, Institute of the Holy Spirit. Welcome, Pastor.
Good morning and thank you.
Thank you for being here with us. Happy Spiritual Shelter Baptist Liberation Day.
Thank you, and same to Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, so let's get into it. Tell us what this day means for you.
Well, it's an opportunity to remind ourselves of where we have been, particularly when you're Christian. Christianity is about what has happened before, and using that as a guide sheet for how we continue to approach this life. And so that when I reflect on, particularly this year, when I reflect on Liberation Day, my focus is now on Teacher Bailey. Okay. When I think about the man and what he was willing to do because of what he believed, because of his convictions, I think he's a hero that we need to celebrate at Trinidad and Tobago. He said when he was charged for breaking the law, he says, "This is all I know." He said, "This is who I am. This is all I grew up doing, and therefore I would do nothing else." And his level, his deep conviction, I think, is an example for us as members of the faith tradition as well as Trinbagonians. Yeah. The man had a deep conviction. He was willing to pay the price that the state said he had to pay for believing what he believed in and for doing what he was doing.
Yeah. Do you think that this history is something that is shared and known enough, or it's something that the work needs to continue so that this information is out there, that people understand what this day is about, where this would have derived from, and what we do in terms of the celebration of this day?
There are some things we must never forget. Never forget. And this is one that we should, because for a country to move forward, it has to always glance back at its past.
Yes.
And what you don't want to do is repeat what happened. And Trinidad and Tobago has a unique history. Just last night at our discussion, we had a lecture at Mainfleurs on Spiritual Baptist Age and Landmarks.
Okay.
And I reflected on this country. There are some significant things that happened to us in this country that we need to ensure that we never forget. The 1970 Black Power Revolution, we should not forget. And how do you remember that? It is important to put up exhibitions and to create galleries, yes, so that the generations that come after will never forget. 1990, there needs to be a public gallery that you call a public memorial, and people must never forget that this happened in this country.
Yes.
1970 and why 70? I know is important for me as a child of the 70s, went to secondary school in the 70s. It is. There are some things that if you don't remember, you are doomed to repeat.
Yes.
And so it is important for as a nation, and as we grow, for us to know the ground on which we walk. That today we can do particular things because these people were willing to take a chance, were willing to endanger their lives. We're willing to say to the world, "This is what I believe, and I'm going to stand on that." And therefore it is critical, and that's why the exhibition of on the Spiritual Baptist faith that we put up at Mayflower is important.
Yes.
Because we never forget.
Yes.
And people forget where they come from is doomed to sometimes to walk those steps over again. And the same thing for us in the Spiritual Baptist faith tradition. Sometimes you get comfortable because today it is okay. If you get comfortable and you forget, it might not be okay tomorrow. And so it's critical that we talk about it, that those who come after us remember that you are free to do this today because those people were willing to fight. Those people were willing to stand in front of the battle, yeah, and to make it happen.
Yes.
And so that's, for me, that information is critical to our moving forward.
Yes. In terms of the information, and I know we'll get into details about the exhibition and so on, is there support from the government? Is there support on a national level to the community to have exhibitions, to have these conversations, to have panel discussions where, this information is shared? Or do you think that there needs to be more?
There is state support for like for all national days and festivals. There is state support.
Okay.
I do not agree with how it is done. and in terms of and I don't really want to talk much about, but there has always been state support for this faith tradition. My concern has always been, at the end of that support, what have we had to show for it?
Right.
My focus is the Academy of Grace, which is a spiritual Baptist institute of theology.
Yes.
We think that government has provided us support for infrastructure, but the spiritual infrastructure for me is the most important part. It's nice to have, because there are a lot of beautiful Catholic churches all over the world, and most of them are empty. Okay, so what happens inside is our focus. What happens inside the walls of the church? What happens inside the walls of the heart? Those are the things that are important to the organization that I lead.
Right.
Okay, and so that I'm also a pastor at a spiritual Baptist church that it will be 40 years old this year, and so as an operating leader of a church, I look for my eyes see different things in that. I am concerned about, of course, the salvation of those in my congregation, but for all of us in the spiritual Baptist faith tradition, I am concerned about what we believe and how we walk in that belief.
Yes.
I am concerned about ensuring that our rituals remain rich and connected to the source. And so that because what happens to us over time, when you don't understand a particular thing, you decide that it's not important.
Right.
Okay, that is why I talk a lot about legacy.
Yes.
About those things that have occurred. If you don't know what it is about, you don't know how important it is. And we need to understand how important it is for us to understand where we came from, where we are today, and how we are moving forward. And so that for me, the faith coming to a place where we all have one doctrinal position that we all agree on in terms of the approach we take to how we understand God and how we manifest that understanding in our services.
Yes.
Those things are important to me.
Yes. Tell us about the Academy of Grace.
Our rituals and
yes.
Sorry?
No, I was saying to tell us about the Academy of Grace and how you're able to pass this information on, how you're able to, I guess, plant those seeds of leadership into persons who attend the Academy.
Okay, so the Academy of Grace, we do certificate programs that lead to a diploma in theology, ministry and mission.
Okay.
And so a diploma consists of 4 certificates. So we do a certificate, and our certificate program is like a 12-week semester.
Okay.
So we have a certificate in New Testament studies, a certificate in Old Testament studies. That's critical to any work you're doing in theology. We also have a certificate in communication and media, and a certificate in church administration, specifically administration of a spiritual Baptist church. Okay, because of the nature of and the history of our faith tradition, and many of us are as organized administratively as we are spiritually. And so now the law requires that all of us become registered organization.
Right.
And we recognize that we included that now in that particular certificate program. How to register, what are the requirements, how to set up your boards and committees. We think that we needed to do that because people are seated, they usually depend on somebody else to do it. And we think that those are skills that need to be developed within the church organization, because every year you have got to make sure that you do your annual returns, and you have to make sure you set up your accounting systems.
Yes.
Okay, so we recognize that, and those are areas of weakness, and so we included that in part of our course. So we also do seminars, like for example, for the next 4 months, and on the last Thursday of every month, we are going to be doing a free seminar on various topics.
Okay.
I mean, we talk about stuff like in our seminars, what does Lazarus' death have to do with us? Understanding our spiritual senses. Okay, that's the kind, because we recognize that in the spiritual Baptist faith tradition, our spiritual understandings are important, and lest we misinterpret what we see.
Right.
So we spend a lot of time interpreting and codifying what we call God speak, what I call God speak.
Okay.
Okay, so that because we have specific rituals, example, for our baptism, we have our morning rituals, and we, for those of us in the tradition, for a long time, we have taken that for granted. Is how we do it. What we do at the Academy of Grace is dissect that. Why do we do what we do?
Okay.
Why do we read this particular book from the Bible when we carry on this specific ritual? What is the meaning of all the things that we use in our rituals? Why water? Why flowers? Okay? And so that we are about, and so some things need to become demystified so that we understand where we are going as we move forward.
Yes.
Some spiritual things need to be sussed out. And it's not necessarily telling you what it means, but how do you get in the place spiritually to determine, to discern what is happening in a particular space at a particular time.
Right. Right. In terms of that and, demystifying certain things, do you think that there still exists a misconception where things like obia and stuff are concerned, and the spiritual Baptist faith?
Yes, it is important for us to know that those of us who live in this society and the societies of the post-enslavement Caribbean and this area of the world, that the colonial masters, their intention was to destroy all the things that came with us from across the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes.
And so that there was a recognition. It's important for us to know there was a recognition amongst the hierarchy at the time of the spiritual power that these people walked with. Our ancestors came here with their physical and spiritual selves, and with a very heightened spiritual sense. And it is well known and researched that the slave rebellions in Haiti were because of their spiritual prowess. And you would read, when we talk about people who just come, like we used to talk about Butler used to disappear. When you hear he's standing here and then you don't see him,
right.
And then he reappears. All those was spiritual knowledge and that people came here with. Okay, so it's important for us to know that, and the law was to ensure that you robbed people of that, and so that when you say drums were evil, and you create laws against it,
right,
and you create laws against, and the most interesting thing I find in the law is that they try to define obia in the Summary Offences Act. And all they say was, they weren't sure what it was. They couldn't define it. They say, but if you see any of the accoutrements, like a bell or like those things,
right,
if you see any of those, yes, the symbols. And so what they did was they criminalized the symbols of our faith tradition. It is like criminalizing the cross. It's like saying you can't have a cross. Okay?
Yeah.
It's like saying you can't say the name of Jesus when you tell us that we can't do these things. And so that they use these laws to criminalize African spirituality. And so that today, when somebody say a cocaine broom, they say a wakinobia.
Right.
And what we have done, we have taken those same symbols and put it in our reenactments, or whether that is True Best Village or wherever.
Yes.
And so we have turned these icons into instruments of obia in a play, in a dance. Okay, so that when people see you with a particular, and so it has become almost normal. They create this pantheon of things that they would see spiritual Baptists or Orishas use, and it now comes in a play as somebody playing the fool, as somebody who's an obia man.
Right.
Okay, and we don't understand, and so we have been led to believe that anything that is named obia, or anything that has attached to it a bell, a Bible, and these things are illegal, wrong, is not about Jesus. And so that has been we continue to try to jump that hill.
Yes.
Constantly, and it is time for us to discuss these things. Like I reminded people in the lecture last night, when these laws were created, it's not only in the Caribbean, it's wherever there was enslavement. Okay? And so that's why those vagrancy laws that is also in the Summary Offences Act, those vagrancy laws wasn't only in the Caribbean, was also in America. They used those vagrancy laws after emancipation. The people lived on their whole life was on the plantation. They leave the plantation. They have nowhere else to go.
Yes. Yeah.
So now they squat in, and now they become vagrants, and they use the laws to bring them back into the plantation. They do it all over wherever there were slaves in this region of the world.
Yeah.
They create, and so these vagrancy laws were about continuing enslavement. And they attached to that anything that was African invoked, in terms of how you sing, how you dance, the drum, all those things was to strip us of our African selves and leave, and what remains becomes a vessel that you could use as a vessel to clean and to cook and to plant and to build.
Yeah.
Just hands to do the hard work. And we need to understand that. So when we talk about them people working Ubia, we don't understand that what they have done was achieved the objective, which was to denigrate anything that was located close to the African heart, close to African spiritual sensibilities. And once you have convinced the population of that, and it is now in their psyche,
Yeah.
it is difficult to remove it.
Yeah, because you're
So
literally
debunking that has
denying.
been part of
Yeah.
the debunking that has been part of the work that we have been doing at the academy.
Yeah, because it sounds like, literally denying a part of yourself, a part of your history.
Yes. But not only that, is negating your center.
Yeah.
Because now you have got to find a new center. And so what they give to the people is a new center, which is you could become one of the other Christian religions. Okay? And then eventually they give permission to be a Hindu. And they give permission to be a Muslim. And then and spiritual Baptists struggle to get permission to be spiritual Baptists in terms of the law.
Right. I know that one of the things that you're doing, even to get this information out, there are a lot of panel discussions happening. Tell us about the one with Nalis and, how has that been going? I know there was one last year and so on as well.
Yeah, Nalis has really been, we set up a partnership with Nalis in 2021. So it's our third panel discussion. And Nalis has been very supportive of our ideas. Our panel discussions that we started in 2021 is to bring to light discussions about issues that are critical to the faith tradition.
Right.
It is our people don't know history and don't to repeat it. And so we started with a general discussion on the prohibition ordinance because some people just don't have the information. And that was the first one we did. Last year we started talking about Ubia and what it is. And so we looked at the act and we looked at people's understanding of what Ubia is in this country because Ubia is defined in the law. And what is defined in the law is an attempt to destroy. What we are doing this year is we continue that discussion. But the discussion tonight is going to focus around the book called Experiments in Power that was written by Professor Brent Crosser of the University of Austin in Texas.
Okay.
Brent spent 15 years in Trinidad studying this. And he has colleagues at the university who are part of the department and they're part of who will also be on the panel discussion. And Northeastern University in North America has also done a lot of work on Ubia. If you Google them, you would see that they did a lot of research. And a member of the staff, assistant professor Feniki Castor, will also be a panelist tonight.
Okay.
And we're really going to we're going to discuss the ideas that Brent raised in his book, particularly that the concept of experiment in spiritual in power. That experiment in power, I think, is a powerful analogy for what he experienced in Trinidad and Tobago. And we need to understand one, he comes from a different background, and he was fascinated by what he experienced here. And I am also fascinated by what he wrote in his book and the ideas. Okay, the very idea of experiment in power is mind blowing.
Okay.
And so that's the discussion we're going to have tonight. And I'm really grateful to Brent and the other professors who agreed. Our local panelists will be Burton Sankarali, philosopher, who has done a lot of research in this area. And also Jamie, who was with us last year, Jamie Filbert, who is a calendar practitioner, currently studying for her master's at the University of Limerick in Wales. Okay. She's also going to, because we know that stick fighting is a critical part of our African retention.
Yes.
Okay, and connected to our spiritual center. And so Jamie is going to have to focus on that particular area, how all of these are part of our center. Out of that center has come so much.
Right.
Okay, the spiritual Baptists, the Orisha, and what I call my Shango Baptist, Orisha Baptist colleagues, okay, all that has moved out of the similar experience you all have coming out of African origin and African spirituality, and how it manifested itself in the Caribbean.
Yes. Before we wrap, tell us where persons can get information on the Academy, contact number, email address, or anything like that, so they can get information on the courses or any panel discussions, the exhibitions that you have.
Okay, so that you can contact us. Our phone is 868-499-5915. And the Academy of Grace TT, Academy of Grace TT at gmail.com is our email address. Academy, all lowercase, one word, Academy of Grace TT at gmail.com. Or you can call us. We are also on Facebook. You can reach out to us on Messenger on Facebook, Academy of Grace TT. And so that whatever information, we also have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And on that YouTube channel, we have videos of all the seminars we have conducted. We have about 7 seminars. We had packaged them for TV. It was once broadcast on our television, so that we have it already packaged.
Okay.
And it's available on our YouTube channel, Academy of Grace TT.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pastor Ryan Rueben, for the work that you and the team at the Academy are doing. All the best to you. We appreciate you. Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Enjoy Liberation 2023.
You as well. We take a short break. When we come back, we have lots more in store. Stay with us.